Ready to move out.
Hey, and welcome to iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Podcast. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, aka the Dark Knight, here in the city of Gotham. All right. So, a couple of things before I really get into tonight's topic, okay, because I really need people to pay attention to what I'm going to get into with this particular topic. But first things first, okay, let me get into a couple of news feeds, not news feeds, but a couple of um news stories. Okay, here in the city of Chicago, and this was only this is basically like the first shoe the first of two shoes dropping. Okay, um at the one of the this the the shakeup, not shakeup, wrong word, not shakeup, but the fallout or the chaos that is going on over there at Kim Fox's office or the Cook County State's Attorney's office. It is an absolute shit show over there, people. Okay. So as of this was last Thursday, the number two. Now here's the now I want you to listen to me very carefully. The number two prosecutor for the Cook County State's Attorney's office has resigned. Has resigned. Okay. Now, when you have your number two resign, that is a serious issue, a serious problem. Not only that, but what they're saying is that they have no confidence in your leadership. None. Now, I've said this before, and I have been very critical of Kim Fox and her administration and her office, and just Kim Fox, period. Because I said before that she does not possess the necessary skill or capability of running the country's largest jail system or system. She does not possess that. Okay. So this gentleman, he has made it clear that he is going to resign because his words were that I have no confidence in this administration. No confidence in this administration. Okay. That in itself for your number two man to not only resign in the middle of everything. And not only that, but the biggest thing that he said is the fact that the fact that crime is at an all-time high. When I spoke of crime before, I spoke of crime before when I said that crime is up to now, well, as of the latest figures, crime is up 275% since Kim Fox took office. Okay, 275%. Crime is up. So if you are a tourist or wait, first, let me stop there. If you are a resident, if you are a Chicago and you live in the city of Cook County, the city of Chicago in the county of Cook, and all of this is going on because what's happened is that Kim Fox's office and mainly Kim Fox. And like I said, I knew this was not a good idea to begin with to put her to elect her. But once again, we as dummies, some of us as dumb black people, we voted for her because one, oh, she's black, and two, she's a woman. First and foremost, does that make her qualified? That is the point. That is the point. And we have to stop putting people in positions like this or putting people in those positions because we figure that they're black. We figure that we're emboldening these women to just completely lose sight of what they're actually supposed to be doing. She's not capable. Okay, make no mistake about that. She is not capable. And not only that, but the word incompetence has been floating around throughout the office. Incompetence. Not only that, now here's the other part. This is the other part too. Not only did her number two man quit, but there are other prosecutors who are leaving the Cook County State's Attorney's office. Other prosecutors. That in itself is problematic. Very, very problematic. Problematic. So what happens is that now, if this goes back to this goes back to what I said before. Who's minding the goddamn store? Who is minding the store? And this is to a point to where you almost cannot wait for this election. Well, and here's the other thing. I don't think, and this is only my opinion, certain offices should never, certain government offices, or not government, government, certain government positions or offices, some should be elected and others should be appointed. Okay, and this is why I say that this is the primary reason why the police department and the police department and prosecutor's office have to work together, meaning that, by them being married, because they deal with so much. I believe that a state's attorney or district attorney, whoever the prosecutor is going to be, I believe those should be appointed, to where if you see an influx of crime or what is happening, you can remove this person and go out and find someone who can come in and stem the tide. Whereas a chief of police, a superintendent of police, the head, bottom line, the head guy, like I say, superintendent, chief of police, the commissioner of, commissioner. Those particular jobs are appointed, and they're appointed by the mayor. Okay, to a degree, I agree with that. That should not be, but a state's attorney, district attorney, those also should be appointed offices, to where you don't have to worry about a recall. If this mofo is not doing their job, if this MF is not doing enough to stem the tide of crime, or they're skirting particular things, remove them immediately. Basically, you're firing them on the spot. But here, with this elected position with the state's attorney's office, we have to wait another 18 months to get this fool out of office. Because make no mistake, she's never going to ever hold public office ever again in her life. She'll be lucky. She will be lucky if she gets a job pushing a garbage can with a pooper scooper behind a bunch of elephants. She'll be lucky to get that type of job, because this is a complete disaster. The fact of the matter that they're doing come January 1 of 2023, they're doing away with cash bails. And this is one of the other reasons on why her number 2 guy is quitting. He's not totally sold on the idea, because, to a degree, he said, and I quote, I have no real issue with cash bails, but who determines? And I agree. Let me actually, and I quote him: I have no problem with individuals I have no problem with cash bails. A person should not sit in prison because they cannot afford bail, but we have to look at this open-mindedly and decide who should receive that. I agree with that, because there are individuals who have gun charges and they receive a bond. Then they go out and commit another crime exactly like the one that they're on bond for, another gun crime. Then they go out and commit another crime. These are the things. See, this is the problem with the system, with people running this, with individuals who are not capable. And I want to be clear on that. This is the problem when you have people who are not capable of running the system the way it was designed. The way it was designed. Just that simple. Just that simple. Now here's the fallout from all of this too. The fact that you have police officers who are here in the city of Chicago who are resigning at record numbers, who are leaving the force, I should say, at record numbers, whether they are retiring or just up and quitting and going to other departments because they have no vote, no confidence. They've given Lori Lightfoot, another fool who's on her way out the door, they've given her a vote of no confidence because what's happening is that they are handcuffing the police of doing their job. But I don't want to get too far into that because that's another topic for another show. And it would be, and the thing about it, because I know I would roll if I, the thing, and it's just like just envisioning having those two jackals sitting right here in the studio, and then I would have an open flame roasting for the both of them, asking hard questions, serious questions, both to Lightfoot and the knucklehead Kim Fox. I would love to do that. Absolutely. I'm gonna figure out a way. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get into the topic of tonight's show. And tonight's topic is called, the title is called Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. So let's start off with that. Let's get into that. Let's get into that. Okay. When we talk about hypocrisy, that is the world that we actually live in, not some make-believe Walt Disney, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, ice cream, rainbows, and lollipop type of world that some of these people out here in the world want to continue to live in. That's not the world we live in. It isn't. Hasn't been for a long time. As I often say before, we have to make the best of it. We have to make the best of what we got. Or as they say, make the best of a bad situation. When you, Earl, what's the famous term when they say when life hands you lemonades, what do? Make lemonade. That's it, people. That's called making the best of a situation. Making the best. And I figured that out a long time ago. It's a couple of, but it's a couple of you people out there. It's a couple of people out there that are listening, that are watching, that are even walking this world, that continue to want to stick their head in the sand and act like it's going to straighten itself out in some mysterious kind of smoke and mirrors way. Doesn't work that way. We're living in the here and we're living in the here and now. The here and now. And when we talk about hypocrisy, we have to look at what the term means. Okay. That's saying one thing and doing something else. And then you're crucifying, and then you're condemning, crucifying, or judging other people on the exact same thing that you have said, did, or done. Okay. That's what that is. That's what it is. I'm gonna throw this out because this was said to me, and I kind of, and it cracks me, and it cracks me up because I know what I know, and that's only because um because I make it my business to know certain things. I make it my business to understand certain things, certain ideologies, certain realities, certain realms, because it's very and very important to know and understand what this means, and getting the understanding. And also it also creates the 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 gateway of understanding how this works, how it works. That is what creates the gateway. That's what we're doing. And if we get an understanding of how these things work, we have a better perspective on how to proceed with certain things. Okay. So it was looking for, trying to find something right quick. It popped up, then it disappeared. Um, but anywho, when we're talking about these particular things about hypocrisy, but also we have to fully understand the definition of that. And this is where the part of understanding um philosophy. Now, it was said to me, and I just kind of laughed, kind of chuckled, laughed, because see, when you understand what um, the terminology of philosophy is the study is the study and the knowledge of all things. This is not your opinion because it never has been. It's not about my opinion. It's studying different things. It's studying it's studying relativity. It's gaining knowledge on relativity. It's gaining knowledge on people. It's gaining knowledge on how the world actually works. How it works. And we have to, in order for us to get an understanding, we have to understand how both the real world, how the what I call the spiritual realm and the physical or the earthly realm. We have to understand how both of them work. You cannot get an understanding. First of all, we will never get an understanding on how the spiritual world works. We will never get, because right now it's not meant for us to do that. We have to wait till it's given to us. And that's where the part of education comes in. Education, keyword, that's where the part of education. When I went to school, I did it as I call it, as I choose to call it. I call it I did it the right way. Meaning, doing it the right way, meaning that I went all 12 years plus a year and a half of college. So that was still gaining knowledge and wisdom and understanding, gaining all of these particular things and learning from the people who are in position to be who teach and who are teachers. Now, when we get to the part not philosophy, but of hypocrisy, that's like saying to one person, that's like one person saying to another, well, I don't believe that people, here's first and foremost, I don't believe that people should live together. Okay, that's understand. Okay, that's your opinion. I don't believe that people should do that. Okay, but aren't you doing the exact same thing? Well, no, that's just that we have an arrangement. Bullshit. That's hypocrisy. There's an arrangement. Like, really? Come on now. And I'm talking about a man and a woman. But now, here's the thing. Here's what you can't tell the players without a scorecard. It could be two men who could be lovers and then two women who could be lovers. But the point being is that that's what it breaks down to. Here's another example. Fellas, you cannot, and then this is going to be twofold. When you're talking to your sons, it's very difficult for you to tell your sons, hey, son, don't, hey, I don't approve of this. Don't do this. Don't do that. Da, 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 da. Hey, listen, here's the thing. Son, I would prefer that you wait till you got married until you decide, wait till you get married to have children. Okay, we can say that all day, every day. But in the reality of things, that's not going to 65, 70% of the time, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Now, not only that, but you can't tell here's in the flip side, women. You can't tell that man that you're with that, you know what? I don't think we should live together anymore because I don't want, because this is not comfortable. You're only saying that because but see, at the same time, you're saying this to that man, but are you saying this to your daughters? Are you telling your daughters? And furthermore, you're telling your daughters and your children, are you telling them the exact same thing that you're telling that man, or the exact same thing you're telling this woman? Are you telling them the exact same thing? No, because why? Most of you have had these children out of wedlock. So please blow it out your ass and let's really talk about the white elephant in the room. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the level of hypocrisy that we continue to live in each and every single day. Because why? That is part of who we are. That's part of our DNA, part of everything that we see and deal with on a constant basis, whether it's from politicians, police, law enforcement, judicial, legislator, even within our own homes. These are things that we deal with on a regular basis. Now I'm gonna give you now just a sidebar. When we talk about philosophy, when we talk about that and the definition of what it is, here it is. Quite literally, the term philosophy means. And I need for you people to put your thinking caps. I need you to put your caps on, because and tighten it and tighten it up, tighten it up, because this is gonna blow your wigs back. Okay, some of you, it might hurt your head. Some of you that are even lesser, that are even the lesser part of the intelligent world, it's gonna hurt. Very simply put. Okay, and it means the love of wisdom, philosophy. Quite literally, the term philosophy means love of wisdom. In a broad sense, philosophy is an activity people undertake when they seek to understand fundamental truths about themselves, the world which they live in, their relationship to the world, and each other. Okay, now, people, I want you to think about this too. Now, here's the spiritual part. Where does wisdom come from? Who gives us wisdom, and where does it come from? Who and where? So no, to correct those and to correct anyone, because this is the first time I've had somebody say this to me. Oh, well, that's your opinion. It's man-made. No, it's not. Because I seek to understand the area that I live in, the realm that I live in, to understand the relationship that I have with different people, different things. This is where this comes from. So what also, when you have a sense of philosophy, it also helps you identify levels of what? Hypocrisy. It helps you identify these particular things. I can't tell my sons or daughters, hey, look here. I don't do this, well, first and foremost, if I've already done it, it's very difficult for me to tell them not to do it. It's very difficult because I refuse to have my children come back and say, well, you know what, you're such a hypocrite. At that particular point, I deserve that because I put myself in that position. See, I'm not going to tell someone something that I'm not doing myself. In order for me to do that, I have to be doing it. I have to have made the change. There's some of you motherfuckers out there that just you get the information, but you just won't turn the corner. Because why? Getting an understanding about things requires you to think. It requires work. It requires you to do the things that are needed and necessary. It requires you to do that. In what I do as managing property, it requires me to use some form of wisdom, some form of judgment on how to deal with these different type of people. I mean, I have several type of people. I got different groups of people with different groups of personalities, which means that's a whole different group of different problems. So I have to understand each and every one of these individuals, each one of these people individually. Looking at them, understand that if I treat each and every one of them the same way, but I want to be treated in a different way equally. If I'm not treating them right, but I want them to treat me with respect, that's hypocrisy. It doesn't work that way. We don't live in that type of society. There's some people you have to treat a certain kind of way because unfortunately, that's all they appear to understand. I'm not going to say that they see, that they appear to understand. Appear. The fact of the matter that I do this show, and I've been doing this show almost 6 years, and using the tools that I have, using the skill and the education that I have received over the years via the school system and college, and then moving into the world and into the catacombs of life. you take those particular things and you manage them. You manage them, and then you're able to decipher certain things. When we discuss levels of hypocrisy and when we talk about ourselves, see, a lot of people, in order to hide their love, to disguise or to hide their hypocrisy, a lot of people um, dive into their jobs. They indulge in certain activities, whether it be alcohol or drugs. There are others that use their spirituality or use the Bible to hide their own level of hypocrisy. They use that as a shield. Whatever it may be, you're using it as a shield. Using it as a shield. When you say that, oh, this, that, and the other, when you're not educating your children on certain aspects of life, because see, we can tell our children every day, all day about the spiritual realm, but we're not teaching also about the earthly realm, about what's happening here. How are they going to function? First and most important, you're setting them up for failure. You're setting them up for failure because, truth be told, if you're going to teach them about anything, that's the part where you start. You start with them early on. You start when they are reachable, when they are still in your arms, when they are starting to walk, when they are starting to form words. This is the part of teaching them certain, and also this is the part where the education comes in. The education from the parent or parents comes in. This is where this comes in, because now you're getting an understanding of how this works, how this definitely works. We'll just take a little brief station identified for iHeart Intellectual Radio for my sponsor, Captain Hooks. Hey, if you're hungry, you got about a little more than an hour to get over to one of these fabulous locations at 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Kedzie in Markham, Illinois, for Captain Hooks chicken, fish, and sides. Anyway, when we get to this part of understanding the two, first and foremost, philosophy is the meaning of it. The meaning of it. And see, this comes to a part to where when people are not understanding these particular things, and as scripturally as it said, in all thy getting, get thee an understanding. In all thy getting, get thee an understanding. And I pride myself on understanding as much as I possibly can, because I don't want to be caught slipping. And I implore you all to do the same thing. Learn as much as I actually had somebody tell me that I spend too much time teaching people. I actually was told that and it was kind of baffling to say the least. But I had to look at that as that, okay, so you're saying this because, is it because that I know more than you? Is it because my level of education supersedes yours? Is it because you're saying this because you don't want to seem like you don't know what you're talking about? And a lot of people do that. People do that at our jobs. Like, right, we have our supervisors, instead of them admitting that, hey, I don't know, hey, listen, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm a little confused, or I'm a little perplexed on how to do this. Instead of them humbling themselves and saying, listen, I need to talk to you one-on-one. How do I go about this? Okay. Oh, so see me, I'm gonna tell you, I'm just keeping it real. Somebody comes to me and say, well, somebody, you're supposed to be the owner or the super or the boss or whatever the case may be, and you coming to me and ask me, well, how am I supposed to do this and da da da. Well, me knowing me, I'm gonna say, well, you're supposed to know this. This is your job. So you right now, you're gonna come and grovel. Now we can, and I can do that, but the right thing to do is say, okay, listen, this is how we're gonna do this. We're going to get a level of respect. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do and how we're going to do this. But what I'm going to do is this, is that I'm going to show you how to do this so you don't look bad in front of your people. See, that's the part where philosophy comes in. Because see, I would be a hypocrite if I would say, well, no, I'm not going to do this. But then I turn around and I'm in a position of where I need the exact same thing I just asked him. And they turn and throw salt on me. No, this is the part to where you're fully understanding the level of being a hypocrite or hypocrisy. But then the part of philosophy comes in to where you understand his position. He's come to you, he or she has come to you and asked for your assistance or guidance in trying to achieve something, trying to do something. Okay, well, this is what we're going to do, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about this, it's about all of us getting to this, all of us achieving the goal, all of us getting to the same place. Maybe not at the same time, but we're trying to get to the same place. That's what we're trying. That's one of those things that we're trying to do, and we move and go from there. When we reference hypocrisy in our local government, and it's in the whole the famous term of hypocrisy is do as I say and not as I do. Okay, well, that's one of the problems. Okay, that's one of the problems. One of the problems. And sometimes here's the other thing too, people. And I know there's several people that will also say, well, I don't agree with that. You know what? I really don't care. As they say, I don't give a rat's ass or wombat shit whether you like what I'm gonna say or not. But we live in a world to where hypocrisy, that it exists. Understanding how it works is the most important thing. That's how you're able to manage this. Just so that we're clear, to also not to forget that the phone lines are open. So if you have a comment or question, please feel free to call us here at the station at 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953 here at the station. When we discuss also hypocrisy, when we say there's an old term, sometimes you have to do a little evil / bad to achieve a greater good. Now, I know some of you goes like, oh my gosh, what is that supposed to mean? You have to see, first and foremost, you have to understand the terminology. You have to understand the world that you live in. You have to understand that. And there are just too many of us, too many of you, even people who are listening to this, listening or watching. There are too many people who are constantly doing that are sticking their head in the sand and using certain avenues or guises or organizations as a shield to hide their own level of hypocrisy. We have all done it. We've all done it at some point or another. We have said something and turned right around and did exactly the opposite of what we just said not to, or turn around and did the opposite of what we said we're going to do. We've all done it. The thing is that own that. Own it. Okay, you know what? Then what happens is that when you get a better understanding of owning something, when you have an understanding of ownership, you have a better perspective on how to operate in this world. And there are numerous of you all out there that don't own jack shit. You barely own the clothes on your back. You barely own the items in your homes or your apartments. You barely own the simple things. So therefore, when you don't understand the level of ownership, you have no sense of priority. So it's difficult for you to not show a level of hypocrisy because you're constantly sitting there pointing fingers at this individual because they have a little bit more than you do, or that their housing situation is better, or their finances situation is better, or their mode of transportation or vehicles are they're in a better position to where they are in a position of ownership opposed to lending, opposed to borrowing. Understanding the two. Understanding the two. And when we go into the part about when we talk about, sometimes we have to do, sometimes we, sometimes we have to do, sometimes we have to do a little evil to achieve a greater good, or sometimes, or we say that a lie is a necessary evil. Yeah, there's some people that don't agree with that. Okay, so what? You don't agree. You are entitled to your opinion, but that doesn't mean that doesn't negate the fact that it doesn't exist, because it's not a single one of you out there that's never told a lie to achieve something, that's done something to achieve something. It's not a single one of you out there. Not a single one. Now, if I were to sit here and say, well, I've never done it, then that's hypocrisy. But I can't do that because I have. We have to be totally honest. Just a sidebar. Now, Earl, when we say sometimes a lie is a necessary evil, your opinion is it? Would you? That's your opinion is what? Okay, and he says yes, because it's a necessary evil. And not in the form when we talk about evil as bad. No, it's a necessary vice, because there are some things that we have to do in order to, so to speak, move the train along, give certain things a little bit of a push, a little bit of a push. I'll give you the best example. I give you the best example of a little evil for a greater good. Take Judas Iscariot. Judas Iscariot, as we all know, or if you don't know, if you don't know who Judas Iscariot is because you've been living in some some fairy tale world on what and why and how come, and that that's nobody's fault but your own. But Judas Iscariot committed a great evil. He perpetrated a great evil against a good man. Now, if we look at if we look at we look at the totality of the situation, this great evil of Judas betraying Jesus the night in the Garden of Gethsemane to the arresting officers, only for Jesus to be scourged and crucified, and not only that, but to be hung up on the cross, to be nailed to the cross and taken down, put in the tomb, and then guess what? He got up, folded his clothes on a Sunday morning, rose, got up, and walked out. That was the greater good. If Judas had not done that, the prophecy could not be fulfilled. So therefore, for anyone to say that's not true, you are sorely, first of all, you are living in a convoluted world. You're living in you are listening to confusing conversation, because that is the world that we actually live in. How many of you have ever asked somebody to do something for you, or to, so to speak, tell that little quote white lie because you needed something? How many of you have ever needed a situation rectified? Best example, okay, and this is because of how of understand this is not, and this is getting an understanding on how things work. It was brought to me, and this is just a true story. About some time ago, it was brought to my attention. Hey, I need your assistance. And people come to me, and I get this a lot. People come to me and ask, come and ask for my assistance, or as my children would put it, hey, I need your counsel. Okay, and and there's a difference between when your children, and the key word, people, like I said, when your children come to you and they use the word counsel. And when your child comes to you and uses the word counsel, that means that they hold that's why it's very important on what you say and do with them, in front of them, towards them, and concerning them is very important, because they look at you as that guidance, the guidance, for lack of a better word. They look to you as that. And so when they come to me and they say, I need your counsel. Okay, lay it out. Blah, 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 blah. Bam, bam, bam. This is what we do. Okay, this is what you're gonna do. This is how you do this. This. Okay, this is how you're gonna present your, this is how you're gonna write out your brief. This is how you're gonna present your brief. This is how you're going to have your Q&A. This is how you're going to have your bullet points. You lay all of this out. This is the part of understanding, and this is the part of understanding. This is the part of teaching. This is the part of teaching those individuals on how to function in this world. Because why? The information that is given, or the wisdom that is given to me, comes from upstairs. None of this is of my doing, or man-made, or thought up, or any of that shit. None of that. Because it comes from upstairs. Hey, this is what I need for you to do. Hey, I'm going to send this to you, and I need you to pass this on. Okay, no problem. Bada boom, bada bang. So anyway, it was brought. Someone brought some. They brought a situation to me, and as most people tend to do with me, they bring different things. Why? Because they know. Because true. At the same time, they know I'm what they've already resided to the fact that I'm one of the smartest cats that they know. But see, I don't take credit for that, because here's the thing. I say, listen, I don't know everything, but what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna put another MF in the room who's smarter than me. And that's the other part about philosophy. You understand your position, and then you seek out, then you continue to seek levels of counsel outside of your own, to where that eliminates that key word of what I just said, hypocrisy. It eliminates that. You're not putting yourself in that position. So anyway, hey, I need your assistance. I need to put this paperwork together, because I'm talking. You know better. You know how to word these things. You know how to word them. You know how to put these briefs together. You know what to say. And I say, okay, well, first of all, give me the full thing. Well, I'm trying to. And my man comes to me and said, this is what I'm trying to do, bro. I need, the certain because I'm in property, I know the certain lingo. Okay. So they come to me and say, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Okay, this is what we're going to do, bro. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, when we go to talk, when we go to talk with him, you're trying to do this. I get you. Okay. So when we sit down and talk with this guy, I'm going to listen. What you're going to do is we're going to listen to him first. I need to hear what he's going to say. And then if there are key words that I'm going to be looking for him to say. Key words. Once again, this is the part about education. This is the part about education. This is the part about understanding, getting an understanding of the different things of life, how to move forward. So it's we go to see the gentleman. Blah, blah, blah. And there were certain things he was saying, blah, blah, blah. And then, keywords he was saying, keywords. So so when he completed his conversation, and then I threw some things out and said, okay, well, what about this? What about that? Let me ask you a question. When the money that he pays in, the money that he pays into this, does this go into a DBA, or does this go into an escrow? His whole demeanor, the gentleman's demeanor changed. Why? Because he knew what I was talking about. And I asked him the certain questions that we have to ask these people. The whole thing. Well, no, this will go into, no, actually, this is supposed, I said, this goes into an escrow. I said, because it's supposed to go into an escrow, because what that does, that also helps increase the value of the home that he's seeking to purchase. That. So then the whole conversation changed. His whole demeanor changed. And that's only because knowing how to talk to people, understanding that realm, that business realm. There was one some time ago, as Georgia said, and this is pulling a page out of that book. Georgia said, you cannot have conversations about finances with broke people. You cannot. And he's absolutely right. He's right. I understand that. So therefore, having that conversation, getting a better understanding, it eliminates you're getting an understanding of what's going on. You're getting a better knowledge of what's happening. So it eliminates you from being caught up in the world of hypocrisy. It eliminates that. So and I said, okay, and he handed him the documents, and so I'm explaining, and as the gentleman was explaining to him, I said, no, he's correct on this. See, what it was is that this guy couldn't run something by, he couldn't get certain things by him because I was sitting there and explaining and basically breaking it down in layman's term. Hey, no. This is what this is because this guy and them dealing with, two black guys, and I'm helping out my guy, helping him out here and say blah, 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 and saying, and he couldn't get that past us, but he also understood that he was not talking to a bunch of sambos, a bunch of yo-yos, a bunch of dummies. He understood that. That's when his whole attitude changed. So blah blah blah, moving forward and moving on, and didn't think no more about it. So then roughly, then probably like maybe 5 weeks later, 4 or 5 weeks later, something like that, he called me and told me, man, he said, man, I got it. I was like, what you got? I'm like, because I'm still I'm just doing something else, and he tells me, no, I got it, man, I got approved for it. Oh, you did? You got approved for the house? Beautiful, my man. Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes, and as we go through life, when we go through life, it's called do as much good as you possibly can. This other stuff that's out there, the news and what's going on, the shootings and shit and all this kind of carrying on. Yeah, we have to worry, but something we have to keep that in the forefront of our mind, but we can't worry about it. We can't spend every waking day thinking about impending doom, or living under a guise of everything is bad and the world is this and the world is that. Guess what? The world was bad before your black ass got here, and it's gonna be bad when you leave. What's the difference? The difference is do as much good as you possibly can while you're here. If you get a better understanding on how things work, and I'm going back to that key word, understanding the philosophy, simple definition of philosophy. Quite literally, the term philosophy means the love of wisdom, and then bridging that, who does wisdom come? Who first and foremost, where does wisdom come from? Who gives us the wisdom, and where does it come from? That's all that matters when you're talking about different things. Love of wisdom. In the broad sense, philosophy is the activity people undertake when they seek to understand fundamental truths about themselves, the world which they live in, and their relationship to the world and each other. Four simple guidelines, four simple terms. But the short one is understanding. And scripturally, as I say often, in all thy getting, get thee an understanding. You could be the sharpest Bible scholar, book scholar out there. But if you have no real understanding on how the world really works, you're about as dumb as a box of rocks, or as they say, dumb as a box of hammers, because you have no clear path understanding. And not only that, the fact that you have no clear path understanding, you can't even pass anything educational wise, spiritually wise, or just common sense to your children, because you don't know. This is one of the things that we spend a lot of time doing, is that sometimes we wind up chasing the wrong dog. We wind up spending time on things and people and places that are not going to benefit us. At the end of the day, when I look at this, when I look at everything, and when I talk to different people throughout the day, when I talk to my children throughout the day, I continue to enrich these people with the wisdom and knowledge that I know, sharing with them the things that I know. Now I got one person that no matter how much wisdom I try to convey to this person, they appear to see that they know more than I do. And to a point, and I let, and I just let them believe that. And sometimes we have to let a fool be a fool. Sometimes we have to let these in let the if the let the boss let him think that he's actually in charge. Sometimes we have to let our supervisor believe that he actually is a supervisor. But most of the time, these people are a legend in their own minds. Primarily because you don't know, and primarily because you choose not to know, and primarily because you're being, as Malcolm X said, you being bamboozled, led astray, run amok. And a lot of you are allowing these particular things to happen to you. You're being misled. You're being misguided. You're being given bad or false information because one, and this is the truth. The unfortunate part is that most people do not possess the necessary education, the necessary wisdom and knowledge of knowing these particular things. And it breaks down, it goes back, and it breaks down to what? Education. It breaks down to the people who are the educators who are teaching us these things. Yes, a sidebar on that too. When we're talking about spirituality or being taught scripture, being taught about the Bible, do you know that in actuality that the person that's supposed to be teaching you is supposed to be ordained, meaning that they were called to do that particular job. They were ordained. Not only that, here's the other part. For those for those individuals who at the same time that the man is the one who is supposed to be passing on the lesson, the scriptural lesson, because he is the head of that household, or quote unquote, he is the Godhead. He is that person. Nobody said that he was going to be perfect, but he is who he is. And at the same time, if he knows more than you do, get out of the way and let him teach. Get out of the way. But at the same time, he may carry a little bit of excess baggage. But when he fully understands the level of his hypocrisy, then he works on correcting that. When he fully understands that, these are the things that we have to fully come to term and understand. Hypocrisy exists in each and every one of us. And like I said, if any of you out there say no, that's not true, you use a goddamn lie, because you've done something. You said something that was completely opposite of what you told someone else, or what you're teaching, or what you're saying to your children. You can't, as fathers, we can't tell our sons to treat women with respect if we're not treating their mother with respect, or the mother or whatever woman he may be with at that time. Or you're telling your sons, hey, listen, you know what, I need for you to do, to work on, work on this, work on that. First of all, if you want your son to be on the path of to be on to be on the path of marriage, you yourself as the father, as the head, you need to educate them. You need to teach them. You need to be on that road. Here's the flip side to that. You women, the same thing. You cannot sit in judgment of another man because he's made a decision not to marry you, or he's not going to marry you. He hasn't married you, or you don't see marriage in the forecast for you. But at the same time, you yourself have not even put your own girls, your own daughters on that pathway to marriage. You're not putting them on the pathway to be women so they can be looked upon as future wives, as well as the fathers with their boys, putting them on the pathway. Hey, listen, this, or if you tell them, hey, listen, don't do what I did, because this, I want you to do. First of all, I want you to do better than I did. In fact, I want you to not only do better, but I want you to be better than I want you to be better than I am. That's the mentality of that's how you extinguish, how you put that fire of hypocrisy out, by teaching them the do's and don'ts. You can't teach but you have to do this when they are teachable and reachable. You can't teach you can't talk to your kid. You can't talk to these kids when you spent whatever time guys out there, chasing women, or the women out there chasing this man, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. You can't do that. You can't tell them at 16, 17, this is what they need to do, because they're not going to hear you. They're not listening at all. They're not. But that being said, these are the things that we have to take into consideration, and understanding the levels of hypocrisy that we live in. The levels of hypocrisy. We have to look at ourselves, and then I'm gonna say this because I got 30 seconds. I'm gonna say this one last thing. If you want to understand yourself, if any of you have a full-length mirror, stand in front of that mirror. Look at yourself and look at the reflection and ask yourself, are you somebody that you want? Are you someone that you would want to be with? Because I can't tell you all that and not do it myself, because I have done it. And to a certain degree, I got my, I got my dirty laundry. I got my faults. But at the end of the day, yes, I would be somebody that I would want to be with, because I know that person. I know the inner person. But anyway, with that being said, I see the lights flashing in the distance and the helicopters landing. So, which means that's all the time that we have here on tonight's show, iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Podcast, which I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, the Batman, here in Gotham. With that being said, to my Captain Hooks, 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 159th and Kedzie in Markham, Illinois. Get over there. You got about 25 minutes to get you some good food. And with that being said, not my monkey, not my circus.